Hey guys, welcome back to the DroneOn Show. It's Mike. Today we are going to sit down with Hayden, a young 20-year-old entrepreneur from Ohio. He started his spray drone business as a freshman in high school. I tell you what, this guy is on the road to be probably one of the largest applicators if he chooses to do so. He comes from a 7th generation family farm. He has some interesting stories to share. Let's jump right into the episode with Hayden from Ohio. Guys, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
My name is Hayden Crum, and we're based out of South Central Ohio, and I'm the co-owner of Midwest Air.
Okay, so to me, you look very young. How old are you?
Yes, I am 20 years old.
20 years old.
Yep, and we started this company in 2021. I was a freshman in high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
Yeah. The first year we started with the old DJI T20s. Just application. So to kind of give a little bit of a background, I come from the 7th generation on our family farm. It's been owned and operated for 200 years by our family.
Wow.
And,
how many acres?
So about 5,000 acres.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Yeah. So one family, like multiple people taking care of 5,000 acres?
So it's not, no. So it's not been, it hasn't been 5,000 acres for that long. The growth, a lot of that growth has came in the last 20 years, but our home farm is 200 years old. Oh. So it's been in our family, but we're seventh. I'm a 7th generation farmer.
Wow. So you like actually drive tractors? And
every day.
No way.
Yeah. As soon as I get back, that's what my job is.
That is cool.
Exactly.
Doggone it.
Yeah.
So I didn't grow up. Well, I grew up on a farm, but it wasn't like farming plants or whatever.
Yeah.
Crops.
Yeah.
We would have milked cows, but then my dad and grandpa, they had to go get jobs because it wasn't enough money.
Yeah.
So I like farming. I would love to farm myself, like drive a tractor.
Uh-huh.
So I never do it, but like I'm excited to hear that you're a young guy and you're able to be out there driving tractors.
Yeah, I was first thrown in a skid steer when I was 10 years old, just going at it. I'm just a good old fashioned American farm boy, and I that's just my thing, and that's kind of how we started.
So let's go back. So you're really young. And you're into spray drones. What was the first spray drone you got again?
The Agris T20, the old Agris T20, not the T20P,
okay.
The old,
So how many years ago would have that been?
That was in 2021, so that was 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And 4 years ago, you would have been 16 years old.
Yes. As soon as you could get your 107.
Wow.
The minimum age. As soon as I was able to get it, I got it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you had to know about drones prior to that? Or not really?
Really, I had known about drones. I had seen the small ones, and so the way this whole company started is, so to give you a little bit more of a background, we have a ag retail business.
Okay.
So we sell fertilized seed, chemicals.
Nice.
We have all these different things, and we have a ground sprayer business as well. We spray about 100. We cover about 100,000 acres across southern Ohio.
Jeez, you go.
So yeah, and Camden and I are one of the main applicators. We're running John Deere spray rigs in the summertime, kind of in between, and we had always hired out helicopter acres for years.
Yeah.
And about a week before they showed up, and you understand, you're an applicator, you understand how important the timing is for this type of fungicide.
Yeah. Yep.
So a week before, we had hired out all of our customers. And they basically put their faith in us as a business. Say, hey, I want my acre sprayed. You take care of it. So we hired out. We send the maps.
Would you have been scouting their crops as well to know when that time is?
Yeah, we help scout them out. We rely on some of the farmers. We know, we kind of get an idea which farmers.
Plant date.
Yeah, we kind of know. Some farmers have a better understanding of when. Some guys they don't really know, so we have to kind of look at it, and that's fine.
Okay, so I'm going to slow you down. 100,000 acres is a ton of acres. For people that are listening, like it's
a bunch.
It's unbelievable how many acres that is. How do you keep it organized?
Oh wow! So it can get hectic.
So do you have a team of people?
So my dad is kind of the manager of the ground application business.
Okay.
And we have a team of people, but we're also a lot of the family. So we have about 10 family members who are very active and have all leadership roles. I have a first cousin she's behind the scenes. She's on the chemical side. She takes care of shipping, receiving. She takes care of a lot of the sales and the bookkeeping, taxes. My grandma and grandpa, they're still kind of active in the business, owning the retail business.
So the chemical side of your family business, would that be private or would it be like a nutrient ag? I don't know how those work.
Nutrient ag is It's a private company, and
Okay.
we're kind of a big competitor with NuWay Ag,
okay.
because there's not very many co-ops in our area. It's kind of a really small area, but that's kind of the similar, but we're not like a customer owned like a co-op, but it's privately owned.
Wow.
My grandpa is the owner of it.
That is
and
sweet.
it's
I'm thinking back to the organizing thing. A team of people is taking care of. So your dad tries to take care of the ground stuff, and then you come in to take care of the aerial. Or
Then the aerial, Dad always calls it the spoke to the hub. So the hub is the ag retail, and then everybody's got their own little businesses that all contribute, and the ag retail contributes back. But that's me and my brother's business is the drones. That's ours. Nobody else touched.
Okay, so who was responsible for the aerial prior to drones? Was it still you?
It was my dad, and like I said, I was a freshman in high school at the time, so I was still in school doing all that stuff.
Wow.
And but anyway, what I was getting back to is a week before they came, they canceled and deemed our area too dangerous to fly.
Okay.
Yeah, so they
is
just
that common?
They said there's too many hills, too many power lines. The helicopter company just
You know,
canceled.
I hear that so often.
Yeah.
Like in co-ops, like just even the local co-ops that I work with. It's like, Mike, if you tell me that you're going to be here, like that's probably the most valuable thing
Exactly.
to us.
Yeah,
because
if you actually do what you're going to say.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
because
huge.
They were used to that, what you just explained to me.
Exactly.
And I think of it from a business standpoint. How could those aerial businesses do that and still be in business? Because say there's any other business, like let's say you're a carpet cleaner and you say that you're going to come on this day and everything's planned, you move your furniture, get it ready to get cleaned, and then you just don't come. Like
Exactly.
I'm not going to call that company again to clean my carpet. But aerial application, helicopter and airplane, they were able to survive.
But yeah, here's the thing. No, there was no, before 5 years ago, there was no competitors to keep these guys in check. These guys just had a stronghold on the opportunity. And in Ohio, there's the H2 Ohio program where they have all these cover crop acres, and these airplane guys, they take over. They get all these acres, and it's like 1 million acres, a bunch of cover crop acres, and they just and I've seen the evidence of where they'll go through in a 10-acre field. I've seen these maps. They kind of doctor these maps. It's a little bit weird, but like I've seen them do like just one pass through a 10-acre field when there's like a lot of trees.
Because of the program.
Yeah, they can kind of change things around, and we knew like there's no way you can get 10 acres in one swipe.
Yeah. So for the listeners that are just getting new into this, the H2 program, what is
the H2 Ohio program is it's an Ohio program from Governor DeWine. It's all about giving back to the farmers.
Okay.
So they pay farmers a set amount of money. So, for example, they may send them, hey, here's $50 an acre. You have to get your and they have a set of guidelines. So they say, all right, you have to have your cover crops planted by September 15th.
Okay.
And a lot of times in September, your corn's still up. You can't. So you have to do it aerially.
Okay.
So a lot of times they just hire, a helicopter guy, somebody that can do it fast.
Yeah.
And we've kind of dipped our toes.
So that because of that program, there's going to be a lot of acres that are eligible, and farmers want to do cover crop to help their soil and erosion or whatever it might be.
Yep.
And so they're like, I want to get in on this program. So a big aerial company gets this contract? Is it one contract, or is it each farmer is allowed to choose his own?
It's a lot of times it's just big contracts. Send it out to big contracts. We had gotten one of the contracts and done a little bit with them, but there was just one thing just kind of happened. One thing led to another, and they tried to get on the regulation side, and they were like really, really trying to. Well, we kind of pressured the helicopter guys a little bit, and they just blew up. They were really mad, and they just sent everybody tried to go after us, which was it was kind of interesting. But yeah, the whole program is all about fertilizer contamination. So in the Lake Erie Basin, they had a lot of fertilizer runoff, a lot of phosphorus, a lot of nitrogen running off, and they created algal blooms in Lake Erie. That's why this whole program started. So yeah, that's kind of
see.
okay.
I like this.
So then that's why they're like, okay. So then they signed up kind of Northwest Ohio, the Lake Erie watershed, and they say all these farmers have bare fields in the fall and wintertime. You need to have something green on there, and if you can get planted earlier, you can get something like a legume that fixates its own nitrogen. You can add nitrogen to the soil, which is really big. And that
you know what? I'm just impressed. You're 20 years old and you know all this information. This is great for the listeners that don't know. And so you sharing all this information, sometimes like I share stuff that I know and I'm like, well, everybody knows that. But you sharing, I mean, you're teaching me right now. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, legume fixates its own nitrogen, brings nitrogen out of the air. And as corn doesn't fixate its own nitrogen, then farmers spend lots and lots of money on putting nitrogen on the field. Yeah. But if we can put a cover crop on aerially and put it on before the farmers even harvest their field, because guys, when they're harvesting, they don't want to have to worry about spreading their cover crops or doing. They're just fixated on farming. They want to get their crops in, get it in the bins. They don't care about nothing else at that time. Yep. So we, a lot of times we can help come in. We'll spray some of those specialty types of cover crops, and one of the big things about legumes is that they winter kill. That's the biggest thing about getting it on early. Okay. So if we get it on too late after the harvest is done, a lot of times there's that early frost in November, and it just kills it right off, and then then it's essentially a waste of money.
Wow. Okay, so we're gonna back this thing up because we got sidetracked. No, I like it though. I am totally cool with that. So 16 years old, you get your pilot's license because you're like, I'm going to get into spray drones.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How did you come across spray drones?
So Dad's just kind of, he's a very visionary type person. He's very progressive. He likes to do the latest and greatest and coolest thing.
That's awesome.
And so he's like, hey, what about a drone or something smaller? So we looked into it. We go through. We start calling all these different companies, seeing and at the time there was no other options than DJI. It was just DJI, and we were trying to find. There was like one or two distributors, and we finally find somebody that we started with, somebody that we liked, and that's just kind of how we started.
Just for your own application.
And we started with our first. We tested it on our own fields, and I'll tell you a little funny story. So the chemical company, the very first time we were flying out, the chemical company is out. They're helping us do testing with different adjuvants or whatever. They're really good. They help support us. So them and my dad are out in the field. We're idiots. We're taking this thing off, and we didn't realize the T20 didn't have like a radar system above it. So we took off underneath the power line.
Oh no!
Yeah.
You didn't.
And it shredded one of the like strands in the wire, broke it. The drone flies, and it didn't touch it at all. The drone flies completely normal. It goes, sprays its thing, and comes back. And me and Camden are just wide-eyed, like Dad has no idea what just happened. We just spent $20,000 on a drone, and we just crashed the first flight. And we bring it back. There's a chip in the propeller. These things were brutes. The little tiny, just stocky propellers.
No way.
Oh, we got so lucky. Yeah, it was just a funny little story there, and it flew just fine. We put a new propeller on it after a while, but yeah.
So that test that you did, like those early tests, you started seeing results that
immediately. It was. And Dad's biggest thing was, so why does this thing not have a fixed boom? It has nozzles underneath the propellers. So we were trying, he was, more thinking, okay, the helicopter has a fixed boom. The airplane has a fixed boom. Why does this how can this thing get a good pattern? What's going on? And immediately you see this thing take off, you see it start to spray, and you have that two turbine hurricane vortex like patterns, and it just sets down and looks beautiful. And then we start to realize the science that's went into it. The actual drone helps create the swath itself. Since it's flying slow enough, it has some type of influence. Whereas airplane helicopter guys, they're flying hundreds of miles an hour. There is no downforce, and if it is, it's causing disruptions. It doesn't cause evenness.
Yeah, correct.
So we in our first early testing, and we actually did the water sensitive paper, did the spray cards, and we actually found out that the drones have about a 7 to 8% coverage on the spray cards, and the ground sprayers at 15 gallons, which is almost 7 times what the drones were about 9 to 10% coverage. And the airplane and helicopters were 2 to 3.
This is on corn.
This was on corn, and it was covered all the way through, So we had double the coverage as the airplane and helicopters with the drone, and we were closer to the actual ground sprayers than we were closer to the airplane guys with a drone, just because of that downforce. It pushes the product down in all the way through each layers, and once we found this out and compared it to some of the other cards we had from the other guys, we thought, man, we really have something. This is not only is it cheaper. All the things, but it creates even a better quality spray.
I couldn't agree more. Like when you flying like a Mavic or something behind a T50 that's spraying, you can't. People think that it's shoving it down. If you're going full speed at 32.8, it's not shoving it down. It's floating down. But if you look behind the drone, say 30 feet, the corn is moving.
Yeah.
And so that droplet is
Exactly.
going inside the canopy and getting on areas that it normally wouldn't if it's not moving.
Yep.
So that the actual application of getting it into the canopy is much better doing it that way.
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
so I'm going to bring something up, and I'm going to show you a picture because I have done thousands of acres, and I've never had a problem, but this farm here, this co-op we were working for, talked this farmer into doing fungicide, and normally he would not do fungicide application because he thinks it doesn't work. But I got these on the corn. He sent me these later, and I'm like, guys, I was there, I was spraying it, and I know I was laying down the product properly, was getting down in there. So right now we're looking at a picture of corn that it's the corn has now dyed, it's turned brown, but there's areas that are darker brown and then there's lighter brown. And I looked at this photo and I'm telling the farmer that I still covered every inch of this corn, but I believe, and I'd like to hear from you what you think this photo is. So I believe that I covered every inch of that with fungicide, but the lighter streaks were overlap of, say I had a 34-foot swath and I was doing 32-foot row spacing, the foot that landed on this side and the foot on the other side, so the lighter corn would have got more product, which would have died slower than the darker corn.
Yeah.
What do you see?
So, I think that is also a case. I think that's a big thing. I think another thing could possibly be adjuvants. So sometimes the adjuvants can also kind of affect the swath quality and the swath width. We've seen that. Certain adjuvants we saw that would really suck the swath width down, or even certain adjuvants could spread it out. So it all depends on the types, how heavy it is and or how light it is. Those oily type adjuvants, they kind of create more of a standard pattern, or even kind of spread it out, or like a guar type of adjuvant that has these polymers that help create heavier droplets.
Yeah.
They have a tendency to shorten swaths down, and so I've seen that happen a lot.
So how would you, as a pilot, you're out there, visually be able to see that? Like, because when I was looking at the drone flying,
Right.
I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, it's
It looks-
definitely being
yeah.
past the propellers, and we're like at 11.5, on the 11 foot 5 inches on the propellers, and about 3-4 here and 3-4 there.
Right.
That's how I'm.
Yeah. No, it can be very tough because a lot of those droplets are even not visual to the eye,
Yep.
because some of them are so small, so it can be really tough to see.
So when a farmer calls me with that situation and he's upset because it looks like it's streaked, what should I tell him?
Yeah, there's a various things. I mean, a lot of times it's good if we can get to somebody and try and explain that this is new technology. There's a very new studies. A lot of these chemical labels they're labeled for airplanes and helicopters. They're not suited for drones. There's a lot of new and up and coming testing. But like I said,
so every situation is different. I'm going to tell you this now. The same farmer, same corn that I'm aware of, we sprayed the same day with the same chemical, nothing.
Yeah,
no problem.
There's so many factors. It could be like a wind or weather. Maybe a little bit of humidity in the air, and sometimes it doesn't have enough. A big enough droplets to penetrate through. So in a hot day, you get a lot of humidity, especially if you're close. I don't know exactly where it was at, but if it's close to a creek or close to a body of water, there's humidity in the air, and sometimes those spray droplets actually have a tendency to kind of bind with that humidity. And sometimes it can cause a little bit of inconsistencies. And that's very new because our droplets are so small. And, talking about that 200 to 300 microns is very small compared to what we're used to seeing the ground sprayers at 10, 15 gallon per acre.
Yeah.
So, and even the airplanes, those guys have hydraulic nozzles, even bigger droplet size in most cases. They know, a lot of times those pilots, they switch out nozzles, and we even have to do that on the ground sprayers.
Okay,
we get a hot, humid day,
Yep.
we can, on the John Deere sprayers, we got 120-foot booms. It's no fun to do because you get chemical,
Yep.
but you just switch them. You can.
Okay.
It's on there's 4 different
like
nozzles.
an easy clock.
Exactly.
click
Yeah,
thing.
you just grab it, switch it.
Yep.
Okay, so I know it's 90 degrees. There's a high humidity. We're gonna switch. We're gonna switch to the heavier coarser droplet size. Or I'm in a flat field. I don't know. I can go 15 miles an hour. I'm gonna go with a finer or a different style nozzle that allows for higher flow. There's a lot of different things that a lot of people don't exactly know in the application business, but there's a lot of instances that happen like that, and I think it's important because we don't talk about those enough.
Yeah, it's like, so when he sends it to me, it's like, I'm not here just to take your money.
No.
I want to do the best application possible.
For sure.
So please do send me what you have
exactly.
so I can learn how to do it better. That's what I want to do. Dude, that's cool. So you guys, you started doing these testings. You've seen that the drones are working better. Do you buy a bunch of drones now and start your own fleets?
So, I mean, we're still trying to figure out if this is a viable business. We're doing the financial side of things.
And we're talking back. We're kind of talking back.
Yeah, we're back in history here, 2021.
Yep.
But we had a lot of issues starting out.
Okay.
We had tremendous failures. It was just
give me one.
So, for example, and this is a funny story. So, we when we first started out, we had no training, no nothing at all. There was no websites, stuff like that we do now. There was none of this. So we started out. We had no idea that when this drone gets to 10% battery at the time, that drone lands wherever it's at.
Yeah, it doesn't care.
It doesn't care. It doesn't care. We had no idea that this. So we were pushing it, trying to push the limits.
Yeah.
And we're going through. Next thing you know, we hit this 10, and we're like pushing it way too far. We get to 10% battery, and this thing's on its way home, coming in full speed, and it just loses all control. And this thing comes in like a rocket, bounces off the trailer, and hits my hand. You can see the scar right here. And luckily, it hit the trailer first, but yeah, it bounces off, hits my hand, and we had no idea because it didn't do a soft landing like the T40s and 30s do now.
Yeah.
It did just shut systems off and just came like a rocket. Yeah, it was and Camden's diving. He thought it was it was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, we were such. It was so new. And,
the equipment has gotten much better
exactly.
since then, but we're still kind of in the early stages.
Oh, absolutely.
We're still
absolutely. Yeah, this industry is in its infancy for sure.
Yeah,
100%. And
dude, that's
just
cool.
Just a scenario after that, and then after that, we had a very close conversation, just talking about, man, is this worth the safety factor? Just is this worth it? Should we continue on? We pushed through.
But you never had a drone at that percentage, so you didn't know what would happen.
Exactly.
So
we were learning. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we had. I don't know how familiar you are, but they had screw-on locks, arm locks. So they essentially it was just, and nothing has that anymore. But they were screw-in arm locks. They just threaded on to hold the arms out, and it didn't have any sensors, sensors. And sometimes we had a guy who didn't know what they were doing, and if we didn't check it all the way, sometimes it could kind of even the amount of torque that happens on those arms could kind of loosen those arm locks.
Okay.
And we had them come off a few times.
So I see. Yeah, there were some failures.
Yeah.
Like that's like when I went out and I started applicating myself, just learning the system. You're gonna go through a learning curve. There's going to be some things that go wrong that you don't want to, but then it helps you get better.
Absolutely,
dude. I had to make you guys better applicators.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And even just from a dealer standpoint, we wanted to make sure our customers, we could help them and arm them with the tools to make sure that those types of mistakes never happen. We let them know, hey, at 5% battery, that drone's going down no matter what. You get out of the way. Those sorts of things, then some of those mistakes that we can pass on to other people. That way they don't have to make those same things. Like, for example, I think we talked about it when I met you at Farm Science Review, like the bringing sticks together and down in. At the time, they had that setting to where the drone, that's like a safety feature, just automatically shuts off.
I may or may not have done that. While it's flying.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
I've not done it, but I've had a customer do it. And it was weird because I told him, I said, this is a safety feature that whenever you do that, it shuts everything off. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I thought it was an override button. It emergency braked, and he did it. I was like, oh, yeah. So we had to work
DJI
on
has since changed that. Because
I
talked
since
to the
changed
engineer,
that. Yeah.
And I was like, guys, like not only, we need to have an emergency shutdown procedure, but it doesn't make sense that it's the exact same
thing as take off.
Yes, take
exactly.
off. So
because
now,
if you grab a second controller,
correct.
things are going. Heat of the day, generators going. It happens.
Dude, there's a lot on your mind.
Oh my gosh!
You've
if
been
you're taking phone calls,
exhausted.
Oh my gosh!
Yep. There's so many. So you guys are. How many drones do you buy to start your own fleet?
So we started out with 2, and we had started out with 1 early in the season, to do the wheat fungicide. And this is kind of a funny story. Like I said, here's another growing pain. We didn't know because the charger at the time had 4 ports.
Okay.
And we thought, man, and they told us, okay, 1 charger and 3 batteries, that should keep you going. Well, we didn't realize. We thought the charger would charge 4 at a time. Not the case. No way. It charges one at a time. And we had a generator that was not big enough. Went out for our first custom job, and it took forever. I was able to charge. It took 4 days to do a 100-acre field. I'm telling you, we were such idiots. We had there was just nothing. It was a desert. Nobody knew anything. And came full circle. This past year, we came and did that field. In and out, we were in 45 minutes, 100-acre field.
Dude,
and it was just like,
cool.
it was just a moment because
cool.
I'm sitting in this field. I went to like 12 hours a day. We came all the way to sunset, waiting for these batteries to charge up because we had to. We had a customer that's already, we didn't have a choice. So we waited that long and we just had to go for it.
That customer was like, this is never going to work.
Luckily, we knew this guy. He was a very understanding, very progressive farmer. And he's like, hey, this is awesome. I love the quality application.
Yeah.
But this 4 days is not going to cut it. It's just unreal. But yeah, after that, then we went to the T30s. Started with 2 T20s, and then the second year we got 2 T40s. We kind of figured out this is starting to go, and then we started.
So when you had T40s, how many acres did you do that year?
The first year we had the T40s, we did about 10,000 acres, which was really good for us. Yeah, we ran just a pair of T40s, and that was really good for us. And those were the cat's pajamas at that time. Those drones were we loved the atomizer nozzles versus the T30s, having all those individual nozzles plugged up all the time. So that was really big for us. And we didn't really know what those nozzles were. We were trying to learn and all those different things to try and figure out the capabilities. We tested with the different droplet sizes and all those different things, and that was a big thing for us.
So you were using DJI drones. When did you decide you want to use an XAG drone?
There was the drone conference this time last year. Okay. So we had talked to Arthur. That was just kind of, we were figuring it out, wanted to see. We had heard about the P100, and we thought, man, a fixed drone with no foldable arms, that's not going to work. No way, no how. And then they just showcased the P100 Pro, a 13-gallon tank, so we had a little bit more capacity, a little bit faster, and that meant something to us, so a little bit more efficiency. And then we went out to the demo site last year, saw the things in action, and we saw the terrain following. The T40s, they had some challenges with the terrain radars.
Oh, dude.
And the T50s are great. They fixed that. Exactly. But then we saw that P100 contour, and it was going 10 miles an hour faster. We thought, wow, we got to see what this, and we had,
because a lot of the stuff you were spraying at the time was pretty gnarly stuff.
Yeah, we had some pretty hilly stuff. So our ground, right in the middle, we're on the edge of the Appalachian Mountains. So right here, we're right in our home farm. It's really, really hilly. We go about 30 minutes east. It's mountainous, super steep, very rough fields. And then we go about like an hour northwest. It's dead flat checkerboards. Okay. So we like to spray in the northwest because that's where, this makes things a lot easier. But we have to take care of our home farm always, essentially. And so we get there, and the P100s were really good at contouring the land. And another thing that we really appreciated is, if you've ever noticed, the DJIs, if the hill's too much to contour, especially the 40s, they just emergency braked. With the P100s, it didn't ever do that. It would just stop, raise up on its own, and continue going. There was no manual input. It was all autonomous. That was kind of a.
So when would a XAG ever break then?
So if it was way too much, like out of the question, if it was a really bad, and it was a bad mapping error or something, then it's like, hey, I can't figure my way out. And that was, we've had that happen too, and just it did a soft landing in the field. We had to go take batteries out to it, which is never any fun, but that was a kind of a mapping thing. It was just way too complicated for it to come out.
So are you mapping all your fields prior to going, or are you just building them on your phone or on the controller?
Most of the time, if we know where the fields are, we can do it the night before on your phone. But a lot of times, we don't know what field. The farmer's like, come follow me in my S10 pickup truck. Here we go, and that's fine. We can, and then we map it at the field.
Are you doing orthomosaic, or you're saying just create a boundary?
So we use the satellite a lot of times. And then we typically have a simple little scout drone just to see the power lines. The power lines are a big thing. And that's one of the reasons we like to kind of do some mapping on site, or at least double check if we already have a map. So we want to go and find any obstacles, unknown things. A lot of times power lines will cut the corner of a field off, and there's no poles.
Don't ask me how I found that out.
Exactly. Trust me. We've had that same thing. The power lines will cut a corner of the field off, but there's no poles in there.
Dude, I was right by it, and I looked down to look at the corner, did not see the line. I seen the pole. I was like, oh, the pole goes down and then has a drop that goes in. Nope, they cut over the corner. My drone may or may not have been hanging in that line.
Yep. Oh, trust me, I got plenty of stories from customers and personal stuff. But yeah, those ones. So we like to take a scout drone or something, and just to kind of look around, especially if there's some parts we can't really see in depth, because you get to some bigger fields, 100-acre, 150-acre, you can't really see the edges in the corner very well or in depth to find a tiny little phone line, power line, whatever. So that's kind of the way we do it. It works out well for us.
Have you ever tried flying the T40 or T50 around the boundary and having a hotkey and building a boundary as you're flying the drone?
So if we do get to a tough field, we do that. We haven't done it as much just because we were like, And I know a lot of guys is really popular, and I don't, it doesn't matter to me anyway. But I just figured, if we have to use a battery and fly it, we thought it would take a little bit extra time.
Okay.
And maybe we do it in some cases if we know we're going to have some issues in the field. We're like, hey, we definitely got to do it. But I appreciate the accuracy. The accuracy is great because you always know exactly where the drone can and can't go. The map is hyper accurate. I love it. But we just kind of worried maybe it takes a battery or two in some of the bigger fields. So we thought maybe it takes a little bit of time. But sometimes it's just a matter of preference. Some guys like certain things. Some guys, and that's all well and good. No worries there. But yeah, that's one, especially pivots. That's a big one.
Yeah.
If there's a pivot in the field, the satellite's not picking that up.
No.
And you
just
can't
run the
walk.
pivot.
You can either I love the DJI feature where you can just raise up over top of it, or you can map it out with the drone as an obstacle because the pivot's always on the move.
So you got a season of XAG drones under your belt now?
Yes. Yes.
So you've been running DJI and now you've run XAG.
So we run both.
Okay.
So last year we ran 3 crews. It was 2 crews of T40s and then a crew of P100 Pros. And
who was more efficient?
It was, we saw actually on average about 100 to 150 acres a day increased with the P100 Pros.
Wow.
Yeah. Just
and same type of terrain?
Same type of, we put them in the same side-by-side field, and we tested them out, and truthfully, there was a lot of times we did the P100 Pro in the worst terrain just because of the hills. And
wow.
Yes.
That's impressive, because when I had a P100, it was an absolute miserable experience, but, everything is so much further advanced than it was before. So, like, XAG wanted to talk to me and have an interview, and I was like, with the experience I had back when your equipment was when I had it, it wouldn't be fair for me to talk about your equipment now because it's not relevant.
For sure.
It doesn't even matter. But I really love the hardware. Like, it's sturdy.
Very heavy built.
But for an overall, like, out-of-box experience, if somebody's getting started, it's hard to beat DJI, in my opinion.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And that just essentially, as a dealer, we put that burden on ourselves.
Yeah.
We set them up for the guys. But DJI can have this thing updated, ready to go, ready to fly within 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
XAG, not the case.
So did you have any problem keeping up with your battery chargers for the XAG?
So what they recommended, and we kind of knew to start with, they recommended 2 chargers and 8 batteries. And we thought, why? We just have a bunch of extra batteries sitting around. So we thought, okay, well, maybe we can swap 2 batteries out for 2 chargers. That way, 2 pairs of batteries are on 2 pairs of chargers, and one's in the drone at all times. And then if we run 2 together, we've got plenty of extra batteries if something goes down, and that worked out a lot better for us.
So to explain to the listeners, the XAG drone runs 2 batteries as a pair in the drone, and so you were running a charger per battery. Is that right?
Yes. So we try and make for simplicity, we try and call it pairs. So essentially, we ran 2 pairs of chargers, which would be 4 chargers total, and then we ran 6 total batteries, which would be 3 pairs. So one's in the drone at all times, and then 2 are in the battery boxes cooling and charging. Because if we had 8 batteries and 2 chargers, there's only 1 cool tank because they have those dunk water tanks. So the other batteries just sitting out in the sun or sitting out, and they can't be cooling or anything like that. So we're like, let's just get an extra water tank and an extra pair of chargers, and that way they can be cooling and they can be charging as well. It just seemed to make a little bit more sense to us, and that worked out way better for us.
Cool.
But we knew, that wasn't gonna be quite as efficient with just what the recommendation was. But
cool. So your applicators, you're using these drones to actually spray for your customers. At what point were you like, let's become a dealer and sell these to custom app guys or even farmers? What made you guys?
in the T30 day, back in history lesson, back in the T30 days, we had just did some demos for some guys trying to build the application business, and we had known we're pretty fortunate to have a couple big farmers. They're pretty loyal to us. We know if all else fails, and everybody asked me questions, so what if you're selling to your competition? You know what? I said, if we can do our own farm and we can take care of our 2 other big customers, you know, that's plenty enough acres to keep us busy, and we can sell drones to the rest. So that's kind of where our idea started, and it never did happen that way. We flourished into the custom app business, but then the sales also continued as well. And it was mainly guys that still, a lot of guys that were just, I want to take care of things in-house. It was farmers who had a bad experience with a disease, and they wanted to take care of things themselves. It was a price point that they could afford, that they could justify. It was a good tax write-off for them. And the licensing, there's a lot of steps to it. We help them in all the points, and we can make it as easy as possible. And it's nowhere near some of the stuff that they have to go through for the airplane helicopter stuff. And so it made a lot of sense for a lot of guys. And fortunately, we have some pretty good farmers who took right to it. And that was kind of the turning point when we did some shows, and guys like, can I get one?
Oh, okay.
And we were like, well... Let me look into that.
That's cool. So
that's
you kind of stumble into.
That's
cool. That's cool. So, but you're still a custom app guy. How many teams do you plan on running this season?
So this season we're looking at four teams this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 4 trailer setups?
4 trailer setups.
What type of trailer do you guys run? Do you have like a flight deck trailer of some kind?
So we have a mixture of all.
Okay.
We have an enclosed trailer. We have a hybrid trailer, and then we have an open deck trailer as well. With the P150s coming out, they have to have a lot more room to land.
Okay.
So just a simple straight deck over the trailer wasn't going to be enough room for us because these drones are really big. They have 5-foot propellers, so we needed to have something that could have fold-out sides. So that's kind of the route we're going there.
Okay.
But we have just a hybrid of all. I know it's kind of all mix and match. Sometimes it's some of the old equipment that we're retrofitting into and updating it as we go. But we have a separate talk about all the benefits of each one. But there's good and bad to every single one. And I'm a firm believer that it really depends on your terrain and your style and preferences on the type of trailer setup that you want. And there's a lot of good things about every single trailer that we can take back.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how many acres do you plan on covering?
That's a great question. I would love to see in the 25 to 30,000 range. That would be a great. We would feel really, really successful. But we're in South Central Ohio. We had a lot of listeners who may not be familiar with, but we had a really bad drought. Very, very bad last season.
Okay.
So a lot of guys are coming off a financial struggle, and last year we had a lot of issues trying to find a lot of backouts. A lot of guys saying pulling the plug and saying, hey, it's too dry. There's no point. This late season fungicide application is not going to do me any good with no rain. So that's kind of where we were, and we rallied. We had to travel all over the state and get into
everybody was looking for work last
exactly.
year. Even the airplane guys were looking like
absolutely.
Some of the airplane guys were calling the local co-op that we were doing work for, and he said I haven't spoke to them in like 7 to 8 years, and they were calling them to look for work. I was like, geez, it's just one of those years, but it's agricultural. It could happen, but for the most part, there's always some type of work out there.
For sure, yeah.
So a young guy or an older guy is wanting to get into this. What would you tell him?
Just start. A lot of guys are worried about, okay, every year there's a new drone coming out. When am I going to? I said, you have to just go for it.
It's like
you're just going to have to get on the ship because it's not like I don't expect it to just the P150s did or the whatever is it. There's always going to be, that's just kind of the route that we tell our guys. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a daunting task for the licensing and all that stuff. And a lot of guys are worried about that. But
if you are working with a team, it's really a team that understands what they're doing. It makes it really nice. So I'm sure you guys offer it with your company, but at NuWay we also help them through that process.
Exactly.
Cool. So a guy asks you, is the market flooded? Would you say the market is flooded?
Absolutely not. I would say a good guesstimation, we're at like 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
It seems like it because we see on the social media, we see it, or we see a neighbor, because these things are so flashy and so cool and interesting. But you have no idea how many acres these helicopter and airplane guys are coming or still doing.
And they still can't cover it all.
And they still can't cover it all. And
like you brought up 1 million acres just of cover crop in Ohio.
Exactly.
Like think about how many drones that would take to spread over 1 million acres.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like,
it's not even nuts. Like,
right.
And what? That all probably have to be spread in a month or two?
Yeah.
So you could do the numbers for somebody that's listening. Do the numbers. If there's 1 million acres, not that every acre is going to get covered by a drone, but if it would, how many drones would that take?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then here's the thing. Here's another thing to think about. So requirements of that program. So it has to be done by September 15th. If it goes past and goes to October 15th, you have to increase the rate by 15 pounds. Or like a 10%. Then there's another thing to think about. So the later you go, if you can't get it covered, then you have to increase the rate again, just because the later date you have to put more on for more success rate of growth. So there's a lot of seed to be moved that gets moved, and there's a lot of acres that get covered aerially.
I feel like the industry, I'm working on something, I'm hoping it should do pretty well, hasn't figured out an efficient way to do drone seeding, dry spreading, anything dry efficiently with drones. Do you feel that way?
I think that's very untapped for sure.
Yeah.
There's a couple things. We've got a couple things in the hopper that really exciting. We have a couple different setups that make it really nice. I don't think there's like here's X is the answer, but there's a lot of spray trailers out there. But I think a cover crop trailer, there's not very many. But a lot of guys just don't. They're like, okay, the cover crop. There's not some areas are not very big for it. So it can be kind of a niche type of market, but where we're at, it's a very big thing, especially with all these government, Cargill and ADM roll out these carbon credit programs. That's a lot of good things for guys that are wanting to get in contact with those guys. They pay at least $15 to $20 an acre just for the farmers to spread cover crop. And there's a lot of money out there for this stuff. It's unreal, and people don't realize it because. And some guys that are farmers and they get to that time, they sometimes are like, I don't really want to mess with it because I want to get ready for harvesting, haul off any last grain, clear the grain bins, those sorts of things. But the custom app guys that want to pick up some of the late fall or early fall types of jobs. Is that something,
if a custom app guy knows how to help a farmer to get those funds, is that something?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
That's what we do for our farmers.
So you help them understand the program.
Exactly.
Hey, it's easy. I can help you apply because he's busy, right? He's wrapping up harvest. He's getting.
We do the same.
That's
cool.
We
do the same thing. We help. That's what we've been working on currently because it takes a little while to get that started, but because it's a government program, so there's a lot of steps to go through. But we help guys help guys out get enrolled and
dude, guys, like if you're listening, like he's 20 years old. You're 20 years old and you're into this. Like this is impressive.
Yeah.
Like the knowledge that you have, you're teaching me things, and I'm sure that whoever's listening, that they're learning something. Get into it.
Absolutely.
It's like, you're not going to like sit on the couch and learn what it takes to do a drone spray business unless you get into it. Now I will tell them, and I would like to hear from you, is being a drone spray pilot easy work, easy money?
No. It is, especially new. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of curves.
Yep.
There's a lot of issues. I don't want it to make it to be this fairy tale land that this is gravy. It's not cab work. I've done the cab work. It's not quite as nice as that.
But if somebody has a little bit of a go-getter attitude,
exactly,
and is willing to work and willing to put in some hours,
you can make a lot of money in the industry.
You go. That's what I'm saying.
But if somebody's not willing to stand the heat and fight and learn, there's no point in getting into it because there's challenges. It's a new industry.
Yep.
You have to understand that there's somebody that exactly like you said, somebody that's willing to do the work, somebody that's willing to keep an open mind and ready to go for it. This is a great business for young people to get into it and start into it.
Dude,
and
I could not have said it any better myself. It's like I've been doing a little bit of marketing here and there, and I say how many acres I done in 24 days and the money I made, and they're like, that's a lie. No, it's not a lie.
Yeah.
I did, but you want to see the work that went into it.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
For sure, it is.
But it can be done.
Yeah.
And I like to let people know right up front, if you're going to do this and you actually want to make it big, expect to work hard.
Yes.
Expect to work long. Things will get easier.
Yes.
As you get more time, but in the beginning, it's going to feel like a fire hose.
Oh yeah.
Like, you're just taking it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. In our first years, we had mixed little tiny kitchen cups, and we mixed because they had little 5-gallon tanks, and then you swap tanks instead of actually refilling tanks. So we never had a mixing setup. We had a tote full of fresh water, and we mixed all this little stuff in little kitchen cups, shake it up hand style, and oh my gosh, I couldn't tell you how many ground guys we were right there, and even us, because you got the exposure to, you're covered in insecticides, it eats you alive. It was
but the things you learn.
And then now we've got setups where we don't touch chemicals. We press 3 buttons, and you have a batch mixed in 30 seconds, and me and Camden, me and my brother, we always laugh like, man, where we came from is just is unreal.
Like, I'm gonna share sometime some of the experiences I went through as I was in my first season covering 11,000 acres. Dude, it was nuts, some of the things.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, is there anything else you'd like to share?
We talked about the youth and how they can get into it, but I have another funny story about some of the older generations like, this is too new. So I just about 2 weeks ago, two brothers, and they had a generational farm, really big farmer operation.
How old are these?
They were 72 and 75 years old.
Oh.
And they had tar spot. This is really bad disease on corn that happens, and it had on every single one of his acres. And that next year, and he's the type of guy, like I say, he's one that wants to do everything in-house. He bought a drone from us, and this guy, he's like, well, I have one app on my phone. And I thought, one app on your phone?
Oh,
the phone comes with like 10 apps. There's no way.
Yeah.
And I look, and he's like, here, you're going to have to put the DJI Smart Farm app on my phone. And I'm helping this guy all the ways because I want to get this guy going and help him with the licensing. And I get on this phone, Fox 19 weather app. In true old-fashioned farmer fashion. But these guys take to the drone like nothing.
No.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's
cool.
one of the coolest. I love to tell the story. Yeah.
It's like people think they're super difficult. They're actually not.
The DJI,
like, they're like scared of flying it. It's like you don't actually have to fly it.
No.
Like, you just tell it what to do.
Yeah.
And it'll do what you tell it.
Yeah, and these guys take to it like nothing. It's so user-friendly anymore.
There you go.
Yeah,
like, if they're listening, they're thinking, no, this is for the young generation. It's not for just the young generation.
No,
if you're willing to learn, you can pick it up.
You're exactly right. Yep.
Dude.
Yep.
So good. Dude, thanks so much for sharing the stories, coming on, and sharing your knowledge.
Yeah. No.
Dude.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Yep,
Maybe,
no problem.
Maybe we'll do it again soon.
Heck yeah.
Alrighty.
Appreciate it. Nice.